I think we're live, but I'm not 100% sure because there is a glitch with the system. Everybody, welcome to the Sunday live stream. I've got Jerry V. Hall with me as always. Jerry, thanks for stopping in.
Good to see everyone. Hello. Hope you're having a great Sunday.
Yeah, it's a good time. So today, well, first of all, let me make sure that everybody can hear us and see us. Jerry says you are. Excellent. Again, I think there's a problem with that's just the Wi-Fi. But today what we're talking about is time. And time is waning. And I think we only have a limited amount, obviously on the planet, but more so with what's going to happen with not just Bitcoin, but altcoins in particular. And here's what I'm talking about. Yesterday, we talked about this altcoin season index. And what this is as a quick recap, this is on Ben's website. If you want to check it out, 10% off the first month, great place. We get as much information as we can, but there is a plethora of more massive amount of information that you could really use. Anyhow, the altcoin season index, it takes the top 50 altcoins. And if you have a 90-day ROI greater than Bitcoin, that means then you are in altcoin season. However, whenever less than 25% of altcoins have a 90-day ROI greater than Bitcoin, we call it Bitcoin season. What I like about this is because I'm a simpleton, it's color-coded. So it's got Bitcoin season range. When in this, everything's Bitcoin, Bitcoin, Bitcoin. And then when we're up here in this red, we're in altcoin season. And it's a funny thing because it talks about 90-day ROI and Bitcoin versus alts. And you can just see that this was what I want to do instead of like showing you the whole thing. I just wanted to zoom into the last cycle because I still believe in the 4-year cycles. Maybe for Bitcoin, it will break. Well, me and Jerry will talk about that. Jerry's got some good thesis. But for altcoins, I still think we're going to have a major pullback because I don't think the same fundamentals are with Bitcoin that are altcoins. But regardless, check this out. So I zoomed in for the last big blow off top bull run because usually it goes, there's a halving year and then we have an all-time high year. And then we kind of have a major pullback. So 2012, we had a halving. 2013, we had an all-time high. 2014, a big, huge pullback. Then in 2016, we had a halving. 2017, all-time high. 2018, a big pullback. 2020, we had a halving. 2021, all-time high. 2022, just a disaster pullback. And then we just had one in 2024, halving. 2025 is the all-time high. And then I think 2025 is for alts, for sure, we're going to have a major pullback. And I'm looking at the last cycle, 2021. Jerry, what's the date today? I forgot.
The 17th of August.
Okay, cool. So look at this. Let's just go back 4 years ago, 4-year cycles, to roughly the 15th of August. We were deep into what will be considered the Bitcoin season range. That's actually the 15th, I guess. Okay. We're still pretty darn heavy, as heavy as we could have possibly been in the Bitcoin season range. We weren't in altcoin season yet. But you're going to see that from here, and it only took August, roughly 6 weeks. Yeah, roughly 6 weeks. Yeah, to get to September, and we were heavy into alts. And then we went from September, went towards the Bitcoin season, then October, and then it's pretty much we petered out in November of 2021. Then everything started to collapse. Let me show you what I'm talking about, why I think we don't have much time. Here's the historical snapshot of 15th of August, 2021. This is essentially as close as I could get, even though it's the 17th of August, 2025. Look at Bitcoin, $47,000. And at that point, Jerry, correct me if I'm wrong here, but wasn't everybody calling for 150,000, 250,000 Bitcoin back then?
No question. There was no question.
Right.
It was going to the moon, baby.
It's going to the moon, right? And then, of course, what was the predictions for like Ethereum? Do you remember some of them? I don't.
It was really interesting. There was Bitcoin and how Bitcoin was going to lift everything else up, right? The all boats rise with the tide thesis.
Right.
Yeah, I can't apply that to current day stuff. But yeah, back then it was Bitcoin was going to bring all these alts up, and we were going to see all-time highs, everywhere.
Everywhere. And I get it. Yeah, and like right now, people are saying the same thing. Bitcoin, Tim Draper has been saying the same thing forever. $250,000. It's going to happen. Kathy Wood is right along with him, 250,000. And then I keep hearing, and that's this cycle. That's not people going 4 years from now. And then, of course, 4 years from now, I hear Bitcoin's 1 million, 10 million, 13 million. Fine, sure. But I'm hearing a lot of things, the same things I heard back in 2021. And it's from Tom Lee. And he's like, look, Ethereum's heavily undervalued, and it's going to go to, I saw one person say it's going to be over 100,000. And then when you hear like the 20,000 prediction, like, okay, I can see that because, that's 80% and it go from there. But remember, the same thing applied back in 2021. Ethereum was 33,310. What was the, let me see here. That's not it. This is what I'm looking for. The all-time high price of Ethereum, this is taking a look at the Ethereum percentage drawdown from all-time highs. And we can just see, okay, I don't know if everybody can see that. It was roughly the 1st of November, 4,600, maybe 4,700. That is a far cry from what everybody was talking about. But I'm just saying, Binance coin was 414, and this again is 15th of August. You had like roughly 3 months, 2.5 months or so, and only went to like $800, $850. Look at Cardano, $2.16 at this point. And what was the high, Jerry, of Cardano?
306, 3 something.
Right. But I mean, I've even seen videos where people were calling for a $10, $15, $100 Cardano. I remember those because I think I might have been one of those people that said that Cardano could go to $10. Even I fell victim to this. So when we take a look at these, maybe Bitcoin will keep going forever, and it's like the ETFs, or maybe it'll be just like how it's repeated out before. Before we go on, Jerry, I need to get your thoughts to see if I'm way off base, or if some of it makes sense. So for you,
it's become really clear to me, utility is taking a much larger predictionary space. So projects that actually truly do something are important. But then there's a fundamental element of every asset, and that is who's acquiring it and how, right? Who's acquiring it and how. And so when we look at what are people who have real jobs and have real 401ks and have real access to ETFs and things of that nature, how many of these projects or assets are in the capital structure market where somebody who isn't involved in crypto can easily acquire some of that every month, right? And regardless of whether I like the project or not, if there is a consistent passive inflow acquiring that asset, that is a demand coming to the supply. And that's what we want, right? We want supply to be met with demand. We want a little bit more demand than there is supply, forcing an upward appreciation of the asset. And I think that we need to start transitioning from I'm going to buy this thing at pennies and I'm going to sell it for dollars kind of mentality, because a lot of those particular elements have already been decided.
True.
They've already been decided. So who's going to continue to appreciate over the next decade? I think it's going to be really based on those two factors: actual utility and where are the inflows coming from the demand side to meet the supply of the asset.
Yep. And that's why it's a funny thing. We've talked about this ad nauseum on the channel about, we know there's going to be utility in stable coins, especially with the Genius Act. We talked about the big four that I think it's going to be the play that I think. Ethereum, it's going to be BNB. If you just take a look at Tron, if you just take a look at Tether and USDC, it's also Tron and Solana. And if you take those four, that's like a big, huge play. But there's other outside plays that you can get into. I think that we've all done what we're supposed to do in the bear market, which was dollar cost average and be very stringent in what we did. And a lot of us did what was pretty solid. Bought a lot of Bitcoin, maybe dabble a little bit of alts, maybe a little bit more than we should have. And that's okay. We'll be all right. I mean, it's like 75-80% is Bitcoin. The rest are some alts. But I think at this point in the game of what's going on, if you want to just take, and this is just like where people's risk levels are. If your risk level is I'm at 0%, I don't care, and it's just Bitcoin, cool, you do all that. And it's going to make sense that you're probably going to do well. If it's, I want to do nothing but Bitcoin, but maybe like a 2% allocation to some whatever would be a blue chip, let's say Ethereum. And then maybe it's like a 75-25. I want to be a little bit more risky. It all depends on everybody. So that's why nobody online can be, especially on YouTube, can be an investment advisor, because no one knows your situation. But what we're going to talk about today is like a little bit like be stringent and be a little bit more traditional, but then maybe on this other side, be a little bit more risky in these altcoins like Ethereum and some other stuff, right? So like Jerry said, utility, I think is going to be a big draw moving forward. But then as we talk about this, because people say this time it's different, this time it's different. It's not different. It's the same thing repeating. I just want to show you this indicator. This is an aggregate of your price metrics and on-chain metrics in a summary and social. And we talked about this many times. Price metrics takes a look at total market cap, logarithmic, fear and greed. The on-chain metrics, flow multiple, and the RBZ score, which is a lot of what I use for when I'm going to start to sell up to 80% of all my crypto. MCTC, terminal price, and then the social metrics, which are in the toilet right now. 0.0, YouTube subscribers and views. What I also want to do is I wanted to show you this. This is what these aggregates look like in the blow off top. And we talked about this many a times, right? You got a summary of almost 0.7. Price metrics, let me make sure I get this correct, because that was November 14th, 0.6. Roughly this one. Price metrics 0.6, on-chain 0.7, and social 0.923, because everybody was watching. I think the one thing that is different is you've got a lot of these institutions and these other players are doing ETFs. That part is different. But look, remember these numbers for price and on-chain, because the summary is going to be off because the social metrics is skewed because not as many people are watching YouTube and Twitter accounts, because let's be honest, there's a lot of dirty shills out there and they screwed over a lot of people. Sorry, that's just the truth. Let's go back. Or excuse me, taking a look at this, 0.6 and 0.7. Where are we at now today? 17th of August, 2025. Let me go back to August 16th of 2021. 0.442 and 0.6. Today we're at 0.458 and almost 0.6. So the price metrics and on-chain metrics are pretty much the same. So I think moving forward, you've really got like 6 weeks to 3 months to figure this out for alts. And after that, I think things start to go down. Okay, Jerry, what I missed, I know I was a little bit of a word salad.
I don't think you missed anything. And again, back to all any of us can do is to take in the information that's presented, that we go and search for, that we're scrambling to get a hold of, and then make the best decision that we can make. I'll be honest. November 21, I had a heart attack. I didn't sell anything. I was in a scared kind of mode. Obviously, I had that health thing happening. Yeah. But what I thought was that I had all the best information, and I made decisions that, in hindsight, were horrible decisions. Right? In hindsight. And so all I can do is take the lessons from the past and apply them to the future. And one of the things that I've learned in this space is that there is no one size fits all answer to anything, right? And so what I'm doing today is, obviously I am starting to slightly increase my altcoin DCA. Some of it I'm taking from my normal Bitcoin DCA, and I'm putting into things that I believe are the farthest away from where they should be. right? I believe Cardano is one of those things that I'm seeing a couple of things in the AI space that I think are what I would call undervalued. Things like Akash, things like, believe it or not, Nathaniel Mitten's agent, what he's doing with Agent T. These are things that I believe have a direction forward. And then I've got a small basket of utility projects that I think are just absolutely must-haves in my portfolio. I'm talking about World Mobile Token. I'm talking about Iagon. I'm also talking about like new projects, like new to me, Indigo and Chakra, or Chakra, how you pronounce it. These are things that look really, really interesting to me. And so I'm starting to dabble a little bit with my investment, but also my research time. And I think everybody should be doing that. What are people using in their lives and have used for years and years and years that new technology is going to displace? Like, I can remember at 14 years old, I could not wait to have my own phone line with my own phone number in my bedroom so that I could talk to my friends and call girls, right? I've had that behavior in my life for decades. Now, do I have a landline in my room? No, I have a mobile phone. But the idea here is that it's the same behavior. It's no different than the farmer who farms his land with oxen, watches his neighbor get a tractor, this new technology, and get more productive. Are they doing anything different? No, they're both farmers. They're just using different technologies. I'm looking at what are going to be technologies that displace the technologies that I use in my daily life already, and making bets along that. We'll call it the path of progression. The path of progress. The
path of progress. And I think that's the big thing, is to look into those products that actually do those things. It's difficult to find, and that's why people love altcoin season, because everything goes up. They don't really have to put in a ton of work. They don't really have to make, really some of these, they're more educated guesses, which is what it is. They're just like, I'm just gonna throw it here, it goes up, great, I'm a genius. I didn't really do too much research, but that's what it is. I think now you really kind of have to, because if not, it's gonna hurt moving forward. But then there was one that Unity Warrior said, which is this: are altcoins dead then? And I want to make this very clear before we move on, is that I think that the time for alts to run, depending if you're like me and think we have until Q4, maybe Q1 of 2026 at the most, or if you're like Felix here, who says the bull market will continue until late 2026. Whatever you think that is, I think in these points that we're talking about, is that if you look previously, it's always been the same thing. 2013, it was Q4 blow off top. Everything started to pull back and collapse. 2017, Q4 top, pull back and collapse. 2021, same thing, right? So if that's the case and you're thinking yourself, okay, I just want to keep going with Bitcoin, great. But if you're looking for altcoins, I think now is the time. And if we talk about that, then we fortunately have to talk about what it's going to look like over the next months or so. And we talked about this before. These are the monthly returns. I'm going to take a look at the total crypto market cap, because usually when we do this, we look at Bitcoin. But I want to take a look at the total crypto market cap to see what's going on in September. Because September, I've always said, is a really bad month. And it is. Except for the last 2 months, somehow, amazingly, we've had pretty positive Septembers. Now, traditional finance as well, September is an awful month. But before that, 2022, which was the big collapse, it was only -3. 2021, which was our blow off top, it was still almost -8%, 2020. And you can see this here. It's a pretty bad month in September. August, so far we're doing pretty good. But then in our blow off tops years, look at those August, 27%. 2017, 87%. 2013, 30%. That's looking at the total market cap. So if you're getting into this what we're talking about as far as like you get limited time, just know September's got a pretty good chance of sucking, and it's all how you look at it. If September's a bad month, are you down, or do you have another opportunity to start to accumulate? I know I hate that term too, but it is what it is. So you can either wait until September, until Maybe it drops like a couple of times or majority of the time. Maybe it doesn't. And then you are like, oh, well, now I got to really get in. Depending on how you play it, I'm just saying, I think we have limited time. Jared, before we go into and start to talk about this story about utility and AI stuff, anything else you want to add?
No, I think that you hit it on the head. I tend to fall into the category of I don't think the future is going to look like the past. I think you have you're more embedded in understanding cycles. I think the only cycle that matters as it pertains to alts as a category is the liquidity cycle. And
sure.
until the Fed lowers the rate, I think only selected utility projects and projects that are backed by very large pools of capital will increase while others will continue to decrease. For instance, my only point on what you said is the 14th coolest DeFi project, I would not categorize it as the same as, you know, the number one.
True.
And I think that's a really, really important point. It's alts that serve a purpose, alts that will disrupt the current technology on a fundamental basis are the ones that I would be interested in looking in. And even then, maybe I would not decide to invest in them because they may not be investable today. I don't want to wait 3 cycles for it to become something.
That's true. And that's the thing. Like, we know that we're inevitable, but the question always is time. You know, how far is it? Like, you know, when Al Gore invented the internet, I'm just kidding. But you know, like when the internet came around, and this is like late 70s, early 80s, you know, when you had universities setting up these landlines, how long did it take before it to hit mass adoption? It took quite a long time. And I know people don't like that analogy, but I mean, if you take a look at mass adoption, sometimes it just takes a good amount of time, and that's pretty much how it is. So there was a great point you said, Jerry, and I wanted to reiterate that: liquidity and rate cuts. I thought after the PPI came out, we'd have rate cut not as prevalent, but it looks like as of today, almost 85%. And look at when the Fed meeting is, 17th of September.
Mm-hmm.
So when I just talked about September being not a great month, maybe it's going to be a great month because we get these, you know, rate cuts coming out, and everybody and the market goes, this is awesome. Then who knows, maybe we get a ceasefire for a war and everything's good, or everything goes inverse, right? You get an 84%, and then Jerome Powell's like, nope, we're not doing squat till the next one. Sorry. And then we get another war that breaks out. And of course, maybe there's the money supply starts to shrink. We're all just educating guessing, I think. That's really what it comes down to. But I will say, as Jerry was talking about utility, I have to agree with him. And I think that AI, we know it's going to be big, but how big? This was a story I was just perusing, as I usually do on the internet. And this is Eric Vaughn from Ignite Tech. Ignite Tech is one of those data analytics types of companies. They work, it's like business to business. They do things for their social media accounts and connect people and just make sure that their presence, as far as analytic wise, is optimized. It's a pretty big company. It's between 100 million to 500 million in revenue. It does very well. And this guy, Eric, 2 years ago, laid off 80% of his staff because they wouldn't adopt AI. And I think this is the things that are coming and moving forward. And I think the ones that actually adapt and integrate are the ones that will survive. And the ones that don't are going to be pushed to the wayside. There's plenty of examples. We can take a look at Yahoo and Google. We can take a look at Blockbuster and Netflix. We can take a look at a whole host of things. But this story, I think, really hit it home. He actually told his employees, like, look, I want you to integrate AI, make yourself better, stronger, faster, and just be a better, more productive employee, and just use these AI tools. I don't want you to work so hard. And this whole story, I should have linked it. I'll link this in the description. You can read it. But it was fascinating because the sales team was pretty much on board. Analytics was kind of there, but the ones that gave a big pushback was IT. And IT, they even said sabotage some of it because they didn't want it to go through, which makes sense, right? So he said, look, if I had to do this again, I'd do the exact same thing again. And I think AI is a pretty big play, and not just the AI of like the integration, but like AI agents and such. So Jerry, as I'm looking through this, what do you think about AI? I know you're big into it, but do you think, what am I missing?
Well, okay. So I don't think you're missing anything, but I think it's important. At least this is how I frame it. AI is software. And what does software need? Software needs electricity running through a processing chip.
Okay.
Without electricity running through a processing chip, AI is nothing. There is no AI, right? And so I frame AI from a very picks and shovel kind of perspective. Compute in the ease of using AI with that compute is kind of where I place my bets. So in the blockchain space, that's where I talk about render. That's where I talk about Akash. That's where I talk about Aether, right? Even Singularity Net, Hypercycle, NewNet, things of that nature. And there's a bunch of Web 2 people that are coming into the space that isn't blockchain, but isn't AWS, isn't Google Cloud, isn't DigitalOcean. These are the things that I'm looking at, because these are the disruptive technologies that are going to power the Internet of Things, the robotics, the autonomous cars, all of that stuff. So at this stage of the game, I'm just thinking picks and shovels, Rob. Just like Bob Hope looked at that desert and went, from here to Palm Springs, it's nothing but desert. I'm going to buy up all this land because I can see that it's going to that's going to be the most valuable real estate in Southern California in the next 30 years.
Yeah.
So there was nothing there yet. He knew the direction they were going. And that's all I'm looking at, is the direction this thing is going.
You know who said picks and shovels recently? It was an MSNBC interview. It was Kevin O'Leary, Mr. Wonderful. And he was talking about AI as well. And he said the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I wanted to show everybody is, if you go to CoinGecko, they have these things, it's called categories, and you can break things down by L1s or L2s or by DEXs or by whatever. And this one is AI agents. And I'm looking at these things and I'm like, I think it'd be great. First of all, this is how I see AI agents working. I don't want to do a bunch of trading, and I don't want to do a bunch of management of, if I do, like, God forbid, some kind of loan on a crypto blockchain. But for what I see that AI agents can do, you use the token, you have them do certain functions, it takes certain tokens to do it, and then they kind of much just like you're paying essentially an assistant pennies in the dollars. Mm-hmm. Is that, for AI agents, is that how you see them, Jerry, or do you see them as something different?
I think you're going to see the full spectrum of utility, from an AI agent doing a very specific repetitive task over and over and over and over and over again on one side of the spectrum, right, which is a very narrow, passive kind of utility, all the way to extremely dynamic interaction agents, like, for instance, managing the D.A.N Twitter account.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
I know.
A wide array of inputs coming from, maybe you might even have 5-6 different LLMs plugged into the back end of your agent, giving him, a very dynamic, robust set of data to work with from the interactions. Not to mention how you decide the parameters in which you want it to interact on your behalf, right? So there's all this interactiveness happening as you define and redefine what your agent is going to do for you.
Yeah, I can see it. So I think these AI agents, I think they're undervalued. And this is more of a risky, this is way outside of, say, like, I got a lot of Bitcoin and a little Ethereum. This is like, I got a lot of Bitcoin, some Ethereum, and I've also got some Cardano and Solana and some Akash. And then I'm going down to number 73 for Fetch. And I got Virtual's Protocol at 134. This is going way, way, way down that tube. But like we say, if I'm a traditional finance person and I say, okay, S&P 500, 95% of my portfolio, that's all I do. And then maybe I put 2% into gold, and maybe 1% into silver, and maybe I buy 1% of say treasuries, and then maybe I go into that dirty, filthy cryptocurrency market and buy that disgusting Bitcoin for 1%. That's where I'm going. There's levels to all this stuff that we're talking about. So as I take a look here, Virtuals Protocol, these have been kind of bleeding for quite some time. AI16Z, which is actually generated and propped up by AI16 or AI, what is it? GC Hershowitz, that guy's name, excuse me. Venice token, AIXBT, like some of the stuff I don't really know they are. But the one that of course, we all know, I've talked about this, I'm working with Indigo Protocol, and they do essentially Cardano DEX stuff. Synthetic assets, all you got to know is, because we're like, what is synthetic asset? If you tokenize a stock, let's say you tokenize Tesla, that's a synthetic asset. So it's like 1-to-1 for that, but you put it on chain. Why do people do that? Why would you do it? Well, not everybody's an American like me or like Jerry. They're in different parts of the world where they're like, I don't have access to that, but I got access to this great wallet, whether that be Lace or Daedalus or whatever you're using, and I want to be able to use it that way. Great, you can do that. So you have those, you have loans, and then what they've done is, what else they do? DeFi, stability pools. So you can be like, you can put in Cardano, and you can also put in Indigo. But these are the guys, this is part of their platform, Chakra. These are the ones that are building the agent for my Airbnb VRBO account. And it's to do that, they have a token at some point, which will be bonded with Indigo. And then I'll be able to use that for my agent to answer questions. And I think that's, when I see things, I'm like, that makes a lot of sense to me. Now, just so you know, they're a channel partner because we're going to be working with them closely to do this. And I'll let you know how it goes. But as far as like utility goes, I need that. I need that to happen because I'm tired of dealing with all these people for these different accounts. Anyhow, Jerry, what do you think about, as far as using that?
I think you just eloquently illustrated exactly my point. I don't think people are going to change the things they do. I think they will change the tools they use to do them. I am not going to stop using the phone. I'm not going to stop using the computer. I'm not going to stop doing the things that I do. But there are going to be technologies that come in and make doing the things that I do easier, faster, better, stronger, right? Yeah. And so to illustrate a point with Indigo and you talking about having Chakra build an agent for you that manages a lot of the FAQ type elements of your Airbnb business makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense because it brings an efficiency to that part of your life that you wouldn't have otherwise. It just makes sense. Okay, great. Having learned about Indigo through you, I'm thinking, boy, I'd like to talk to them about tokenizing my property in Costa Rica and making NFT elements around every single day of the year and using them in an Airbnb fashion so that people can buy NFTs for specific dates, tokenizing not only the calendar, but the actual ownership of the project. Ooh, how novel would that be, right? And this point that you made that's been taken for granted by many Americans because we just assume the rest of the world has followed us. The world does not have easy access to the U.S. capital markets. Only the very rich. Only the very rich in the world have access to the U.S. capital markets. Most middle-class people around the world don't have access to Apple stock, Tesla stock, Google stock, what have you. And companies like what Indigo's doing for real-world assets could help bridge that gap. No different than the way some of these blockchain projects are working with companies that you might well know, like Robinhood, etc. Bringing real-world assets to the world outside of the U.S. capital market structure that gives them one-to-one access to those assets that are in the U.S. capital market structure, therefore bolstering and bringing more value to the U.S. capital structure, which is great for the U.S., but it's also great for them because they ride they ride the wealth creation made through that structure.
True. And you know what? This was Jet said this. Many, even if they had access to these stocks, they can't buy them unless fractional, which
Correct.
is true. So like it's the same thing with Bitcoin, right? Like my normie friends are like, dude, I can't afford 117,000. And I tell them it's like, well, it's like pennies for a dollar. You know, you have 100 million Satoshis for one Bitcoin, you got 100 pennies for a dollar. You can just get $20 worth of that. It's a lot of Satoshis. So you're lucky SOB, good for you. And then like with this one, you know, fractional of the stocks. Some platforms do it, but I don't know if they've let it allow that for every different region. But I know with like Robinhood, I can do that for certain stocks, but not all of them.
Right.
And I can't do them during off hours, which is always weird to me when I'm going into Robinhood. I'm like, what do you mean there's off hours? Like it's really 9 to 5? Like, yeah, well, it's like 8:30 to 5 or 4:30, whatever it is. And I'm like, and it's only Monday through Friday? That's ridiculous. Why are we doing this? And of course they're like, well, this is traditional finance. Welcome home. And so I get what Jets is saying. That can make a lot of sense. I do like and we talked about this last week, your idea.
Right?
Yeah.
This goes for real estate. How many people cannot go buy an investment property because they don't have the full amount, either in the form of a loan or the form of the capital sitting in an account? Most people, the reason there is this, the reason the wealth inequality gap continues to rise is the barrier to entry into the world of asset accumulation, and tokenization turns that around. Will everybody use it? No. Not everybody will take advantage of it, but more will than not, than are available in the current capital market structure today. And that's what we want. We want more people to come along this ride of wealth creation with us.
Yeah. It'd be nice because, I mean, this younger generation, these guys really got screwed. I hate to say that, but it's the truth.
Oh, there's no question.
Yeah. Hey, here's a good, so everybody, we're going to just kind of, we've already transitioned to Q&A, just so everybody knows, but Ashley's got a good question. Weren't the previous bear markets caused by black swan events? Meaning, and I think the next question would be, if that's true, that happened in 2021, 2017, 2013, I don't really know, but 2021 for sure. What happens in this one when there's no black swan events and everything's going good? Is there any pullback?
Well, that's very interesting because 2021, many can explain the reason 2021, specifically November 2021, was such an incredibly monstrous all-time high element, was because of the black swan of COVID that caused a liquidity cycle where a massive amount of liquidity was injected into the economies and assets were taken to the roof as a direct result. So would 2021 have been what it was without the injection of the liquidity that came from the 2020 COVID crisis? I don't know. And the injection of all that stimulus money.
I don't know. Well, I'll talk. I don't know, but so look at this. We did more stimulus than we've, I think, ever done. And you can see that the empty money supply went from a paltry 14.85 trillion, peaked out at 21 trillion, which is, 5-6 trillion, something like that. Not a bad deal for America. That's what we do. But as a reminder, we've had nothing but an influx of money. Has it ever? I think there's been a couple of points, yes, where money supply has gone down. But when we talked, I did just recently this video a couple of weeks ago where I talked about the reason why Bitcoin is so great is because it is deflationary. And everything else is, not everything else, but every fiat in the world is inflationary. And you can overlay the price of housing. You can overlay the price of eggs. You can overlay the price of the S&P 500 like we're doing here. And you can just see that you grow not because you're a fantastic trader, but just because there's a bunch of new money into the market. And that's one of the reasons. But as far as like the black swans, in 2017, as I remember, there was no really like big, huge black swans. We still had influx of M2 money supply. I think one of the big things was there was the CBOE futures. And that was, and you can overlay that. I think it was 17th of December 2017, or was it either 15th December 2017? They started the futures, and everybody, like the Winklevoss and everybody else, was saying, "Oh, if you think that you're so smart, then why don't you short Bitcoin?" And they did. They shorted the living tar out of it, and that was one of the big stumbling blocks. One of the stumbling blocks moving forward. Now, of course, there's many, and people will bring these up, and I agree with all. Sure. But if you take a look, and then going back to 2013, it was the same thing, a big, huge run up. I still believe that there is some type of mental aspect of people going, wait, you only produce half of Bitcoin per day in every 4 years? And that just happened? So it's deflationary and it becomes more finite? Can you make any more? You can't? Oh, that's weird. Because we can do that, everything else. Okay, well, maybe I should take a look at, and it just kind of goes from there. So as far as like black swan events, I think Jerry hit it actually with liquidity and things like that. But I also do think that there is some manipulation going on in the background where things can't get too overpriced and too heavy. And then people start to sell like crazy. And that's the reason why you take a look at the NUPL. And you can just see how much is in profit, and like clockwork, they take those profits. So everybody that's telling you diamond hands, bro, and just keep going, they're all full of it, and they're all dumping on you. Remember that. Jerry, anything else?
No, this has been a good show.
It's been a good show of me breaking everybody's mind about the goodness that is. Okay. Rob and Jerry, what volume to market cap ratio do you look for when choosing a token to purchase? Good question.
Great question.
So if we take a look at this, like as far as like market cap ratio, what I do is it's not so much about market cap ratio, it's also about tokenomics. And I always take a look at the cut. The community, how big is the community, the utility, what does it do, the team, and the tokenomics. And if we see like the tokenomics, there was one token, I forgot, that everybody was talking so much hype about it, but it only had produced like 10%. And then I think over the next year or so, it was going to dump over 50% of the total amount, and it was going to be unlocked for the VCs. So if you take a look at that, I take a look and say, okay, well, this type of thing is something that I don't really want to get into because VCs will dump on me, and that's what they do. But as far as like the market cap ratio when choosing the purchase, I don't go too far down into the list, even though, like, let's say like Indigo I'm investing into because we're going to partner up, they're going to build a product for me. So that's one of the ones that I break. So as far as like market cap ratios, I don't really have too many that I would say I would go for. Jerry, anything on that one?
You know, I'm not necessarily looking at those specific metrics. I will tell you that, for instance, I changed my DCA allocations based on the fact that Cardano, for instance, which is a project I believe in long term, its distance from its all-time high was greater than any other asset that I have in my basket that I invest in. So I changed the actual allocations, started allocating less to Bitcoin and more to Cardano based on that fact. Now, will I invest in a token because of metrics? No. I always have to have a strong case for, is this going to be something that I see displaces something else? That, I mean, I don't invest, in other words, I don't invest in tokens for the sheer upside of the price of the token. It needs to do something that I believe is going to be a part of the world. Therefore, I'm investing in it. You know what I'm saying? There are people that will invest in tokens solely based on the fact that they want to buy it for a nickel and sell it for $1. And they could care less what it does or what market it serves or what utility it brings. And I wish those people well. I've never been good at that. Maybe there'll be an AI agent that does that really well, and I might hire it and give it, you know, $100 and see what it can do. And maybe I'll be Warren Buffett in 10 years. Who knows?
Yeah, I will say though, if you're taking a look at like, say like earnings per share, right? And you take a look at the stock market, there are most of the companies that are in the stock market right now that people are praising and really get into heavy, their earnings per share are pretty darn high. And you can take a look at NVIDIA, you can take a look at Tesla, and those, And it is a little bit higher than what it is, but it really doesn't compare to, say, their earnings per share. If you take a look at like what revenue is being produced by, say, a crypto project in general and how much its valuation's at, it's like ridiculous. I want to say, I know that Solana's pretty high, but Cardano's even higher, like way, way higher than that. So if you're looking at like earnings per share, you know, like how much the actually revenue is being generated for that, it doesn't even come close. And this is when I look at those numbers, I'm like, okay, this is definitely a sector that we are just pretty much speculating on. But that's how I see it. All right. It's because they'd have been sleeping for so long. I use Radiant polls. Jerry, do you own any Aave? Any more upside for a token like Aave? It's Hive, it's real.
You know, Aave was one of these incredible liquidity type projects, right? I think with the rise of stable coins, we're going to see some of those type projects start to maybe lose some market share. At least that's my thesis. So, like, I don't own any. I got out of Aave a while ago. To be honest with you, but I don't have a bear case for it. So it's not like I can point to something and go, hey, listen, this doesn't make sense in my mind anymore. I just lost the for why I invested in Aave in the first place. Yeah,
it's a tough one. I mean, Aave is supposed to be the great thing, and it has, as far as like, if you look at DeFi Llama and the TVL of Aave, it's one of the tops, if not the top.
No question.
Ah, yeah. There was another one. Let's see. Mary says, Solana has been called the black hole sun. Any comments? I think that's by James. Any comments? Still a buy? Will it dip in the bear or not? Jerry, you accumulating any more Solana?
Or just all it's staking, and I guess what that says is that I've placed my bets on the layer ones that I think are going to bring those utilitarian products to the market. And for the last X amount of years, Solana has been kind of the home of meme coins, and that isn't a utility that I find valuable. I'm not saying that it doesn't have value. I'm just saying, to me, I've chose to put my money in other layer ones.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
Sorry, Solana community, I'm not your spokesperson.
And I know what people will say is like, well, Solana's the fastest, it has the fastest TPS, and the finality is the quickest, or is the as far as like settlement of transactions, it is by far the lowest. And I say that yes, it's true. It is the fastest, finality is there, and it's the cheapest. That's for damn sure. It's very cheap. But I will say, like, I wasn't going to show this because just for time, but if we take a look at, again, going 4 years back, this is when Solana was really blowing up. And we're taking a look at Solana on the 15th of August, 2021, when Solana was $53.75. Would anybody like some Solana at $53? Probably you would take it right now. However, going back, let's say that you invested $20 a day, just conservative stuff, right? And you put it into Bitcoin, ETH, BNB, Solana, Tron, and ADA. And you started on August 15th. Remember, Solana nailed it at like 250, 280. I forgot what the all-time high was. But going from August 15th, again, you're kind of late in the cycle. And we go up. When did we top out? Really, November?
It was like November 13th. I think it was the day I had the heart attack, to be perfect.
Yeah.
I think it was that day.
The good times, Jerry, good times. And you can see that that Solana, and people like, they're rejoicing. They're like, see, you put in 1,880 and you went at 57%. Okay, that's pretty good. BNB, 25%. Bitcoin, you only went up 22%. Ethereum, 16%. Tron, 13%. And ADA, you actually lost money. It's negative 16%. So like with this one, it's great. And you could actually do it. And I think anybody would be happy with a 57% increase if things continue. And that's for people who are saying, well, that doesn't mean Solana's going to go to $500. Didn't you know, Rob? Or it's going to go to $800 or $1,000 or $1,200. okay. But I just seem like some of these, like you can do it. It's just that maybe there's not as much upside as you like, or maybe it is. If you believe in the technology, keep buying it. But it's up to you what you want to do. Let's see. And Covenser says you can't really count Solana before SBF because he was apparently propping it up a lot. But I mean, still, even with SBF in jail, Solana did hit its all-time high in 2024, did it not? So I can't say that. And then Plato says, Jerry, you had a heart attack? Yeah.
I did. Yeah, I did a site visit to this 5-acre parcel. Has these beautiful waterfalls on it, and I was crypto rich, right? I was becoming a crypto billionaire, and I thought, I would diversify my holdings into real estate and things of that nature. And when I got down off the mountain, I must have broke something loose, right? Some piece of cholesterol broke off and clogged an artery, and I seized up right there on the hill.
Damn.
Thank God, Costa Rica's got good medical, and I got all fixed up and here to tell the story and share the experience with y'all.
Hey, let me ask you this. Did you have insurance over there?
No, I paid for it out of my pocket.
If I may ask, was it below $100,000?
It was below $6,000.
You have got to be kidding me. Did they put...
No, here's one of the things that I hope people start looking at. And it's the same kind of mentality. I remember when I started the Beyond Moon Investment Club, people were always like, Jerry, I want to join and I want to learn, but I really don't have any money to invest. And I'm like, well, one of the things you got to look at are the choices that you make for your expenditures, right? What are you spending your money on? And so let's just walk through one day. Let's walk through a normal day. How much money do you spend per day? And it was amazing. People coming up with these $7 coffees and $35 lunches and things of that nature. And I'm like, oh my gosh. If you were to just make your lunch and buy coffee at a store and make it at your home, you could be investing that money every day and building your asset portfolio.
I see.
Oh, I can't. I don't. You need all this money to invest. Digital assets make it easy. You can invest $4 a day if you want.
Jerry is channeling his inner Dave Ramsey as he talks about don't buy the coffee. But no, it's true. It's all true. And if you can do it.
It's all true, man. And so moving to Costa Rica for me was finding a place to live that had the security and climate that I wanted at a price that I could afford. And it has served its purpose beautifully, so much so that I want to live the rest of my life here.
Yeah, I'm the same with Puerto Rico. It's great. It's still but that place is kind of pricey though, unfortunately.
Well, yeah. But I'll tell you, one of the things that you can do, like for anybody who's living in a place that they love and they don't want to move, look at the things that you can do to supplement your expenditures. Like, do you have the ability to grow food? Right? Can you grow something and eat it as opposed to buying it? Right? So can I spend $3 on seeds to buy $100 worth of salad material? Yeah. That's a pretty easy trade-off, right?
Easy.
There's a lot of things. If you just apply a little bit of the thinking and think, okay, where can I cut and what can become investable capital as opposed to money that I'm spending on things that are deflationary, things that are never going to bring me back a return.
Yeah, this is why I'm always harping on assets. Own as many assets as you can, whatever those assets are. Even if there's fractionalized assets of equities, of stocks, doesn't really matter. And then, of course, like this, and be aware of this. PH says it right. The cycle has been different as we're buying assets. We have no idea how the rest of the year is going to play out. All we know is that if I sell, it'll pump. And if I buy or hold, it will dump. And that's... and then Concrete Donkey, this is a good one about ADA and stables. Why hasn't there been a vote for the ADA holders to get USDC or USDT on Cardano? Answer, Cardano Foundation doesn't allow the vote. How decentralized is that? That is a problem. Rackstar says, I use IUSD. I think this is because I saw this on the Indigo platform. Hold on, let me sure. Correct me if I'm wrong here. Like I can launch the DEX. Okay. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah,
IUSD
is an Indigo product.
Yeah, okay. So then here, let me connect my wallet. Lace. Please accept the disclaimer. All right. Oh, so that's my seed phrase. Deposit, frequency, HRA. No, just kidding. All right, so let's see here. So
Smart ass.
and these are the loans. Huh. I can, let me swap some tokens. Okay. Let me sell, do 100 ADA. And I can buy Indy. No, I don't want to buy Indy. IUSD. Hey, what the?
Do they have agent on there? That I didn't look for.
Let's see.
It's spelled agent, AGENT.
No.
We need to get it on there. Who do I talk to?
Well, actually, I know it's you. You have iSol, iBitcoin, iUSD, iETH, and iIndy. I got a guy who knows a guy. Okay.
You can never go wrong with Bitcoin, Rob.
Yeah, it's true.
Never.
Look
ever.
at this. This is one thing that gets me. So I'm selling 63. Oh, okay. I'm selling 63 ADA. It's not $1. I forget. Not $1 yet. I'm buying 59. But, okay, my slippage, 1.05. All right. I'm receiving. There's always a damn fee. Batcher fee. Fees paid for the service of off-chain laminar batcher. All right, 2 ADA. It's like $2. Deposit. The amount of ADA will be held as minimum UTX. Okay, and will be returned when the order is. Okay, all right. Let's see. Let's see if I can do this. Oh, I got to enable the collateral. Okay, I'm not going to do that here. Anyhow.
Yeah, that's don't do that in front of us.
Yeah. And then just to finish it, just to conclude this, Meme says to Concrete, there has not been a direct community-wide vote by ADA holders about bringing USDC or Tether to Cardano. The claim that Cardano Foundation doesn't allow the vote is not accurate. And I think it's actually a pretty well-versed basis, which is, hey, we really should have more stables on Cardano. And if IUSD takes over and has a bunch of volume, great. If they can bring Tether in, that's just automatic volume, but you got to pay to play, as I understand, with Tether and USDC. So maybe they don't want to pay that.
Unfortunately, there is that element. It will all come eventually, right? Those who adopt, you're going to need every chain that wants to be an economic actor will have to adopt to Tether and Circle. It's a fact.
It's a fact. It's a fact.
Get over it.
Hey, here's a great question, which will make everybody hate us. What are the chances if Democrats win in 2028, reverting all great pro-crypto policies, Republicans did not choke point 3.0? And the reason why I say everybody will hate us is because every time we get into politics, there's always going to be, not everybody, there's going to be some people like, that's BS, this one sucked, and this, that. I just think like this. I think it's good to have dissenting opinions. I think it's good. That's what makes democracy great. Agreed. So when midterms come around, I know Republicans had a big red wave this time. Expect things to reverse over the next year and some change. Not reverse like all the way through. Obviously, President Trump has another year or 3 years to go. And but as far as like midterms go, not every Senate seat will be up, and then of course the House as well. But you'll see some seats flip like it always does. I don't see a lot of reversion. There'll be more conversation. And really what it comes down to me is, how does this affect me? How does this affect my sphere of control? What can I control here? I can't control anything. I can't even vote. I can vote for the governor of Puerto Rico. That's about it. So, Jerry, Jerry, you can't even vote at all. You're in Costa Rica. What am I talking about?
Actually, I can vote. There is a
no
process
kidding.
for expatriates to vote, and I do vote. But I'm not going to share necessarily my political opinions. I think a lot of what's happening in the world of crypto is we're merging into the capital flow and capitalistic principles are bipartisan in nature, right? Generally bipartisan in nature. And so I'm hoping that as we mature as an industry, crypto that is, that the capitalistic values are what predicate policies, not talking points anymore, right? It becomes a matter of, are Democrats making money? Are Republicans making money? Is the world at large making money? These are going to be the things, not Republican or Democrat is pro crypto or not pro crypto.
Is Nancy Pelosi receiving inside information still? Yes.
Is she working with Chainlink? Chances are the answer is going to be yes, because they're all opportunists.
Of course. Let's not kid ourselves.
Let's get out of the daydream that it's a fair principle based element. It isn't. It's a people become politicians. They may have good in their heart and want to do good, but people will always be people. And you show me the incentives, I will predict the outcomes.
It's pretty deep, Jerry. It's pretty deep. You're crushing my reality of everybody being good in a Disney movie.
I'm sorry. No more bedtime stories for Rob.
Yeah, getting upset. I start crying. Hey, this is a good one. Most expats in Costa Rica get private health insurance to supplement the public plan, which you also.
That's true.
But because I got to tell you, like, if you had a heart attack here in the States and you had no insurance, you're looking at 6 figures. I'm pretty sure, especially with rehab, stent placement.
I was in a cardiac ICU. I had an angioplasty, which is the thing they put a catheter in here. I got to watch it on television, dude. I got to watch them take a stent and try to unblock the blockage in the artery to put the stent in. I watched it all happen in real time as I'm laying there on the table and the doctor is talking to me about Bitcoin.
No kidding.
That was our conversation. We talked, because I was talking about it. Dude, it was November of 2021. The entire world was talking about Bitcoin.
See, that will be a great indicator. Jerry's second, if he ever gets some other type of medical procedure and the doctor's talking about Bitcoin. Hey, Jerry, can you do that? So when they put the stent in, what did it look like again?
They actually weren't able to get the stent in, so the blockage is still there. I had that little tiny part of my heart died. It's called necrotic, and new blood vessels were built around it. But so there's this wire, and they're watching it on an X-ray, and in the very front of the wire is the stent. And what they tried to do is use the stent to unblock the blockage. And they were unable to. And actually, I used to work in cardiac cath lab. I just wanted you to do the whole finger motion so that people could screenshot that. and that's what'll be all over X. That'll be the viral meme that comes. It has nothing to do with cardiac health. It has everything to do with, like, look at what Jerry's doing on digital.
Look at Jerry. Well, all I got to say is this: I remember when I didn't hear from you for a month. And I called you and I'm like, hey man, what's going on? I got no response. I called again. And you're like, hey, just let you know I'm in the hospital. I had a heart attack. I'm like, oh my God. It was an eye-opening day for me. Yeah.
50% of heart attack victims die of the heart attack. They die. That's the first symptom that they're having a problem, is they friggin' drop dead. And I'm really grateful that I didn't drop dead.
That's a pretty good indicator.
Pretty good outcome for me.
Yeah, for you, for sure. Scary stuff.
I've made some changes. Like, I no longer eat sugar. I no longer eat flour. I don't eat, bread products. I've changed my diet. I'm still overweight, and I'm hoping that I can work out. I think I got a hormone thingy. We'll talking to some endocrinologists and seeing if I can correct that. But I made some lifestyle changes through the course of that activity. And I think it's only going to be good for the next 20, 30 years of my life.
I'll take 30 years. You're looking good. You're looking thinner.
Feel good. Strong like bull.
Strong. You strong like bull.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's see. It's pretty good. That's my best. That's my best accent I've done. Let's see. Where's the video, Jerry? Frank says if the Dems win in 2028, everyone gets a free colonoscopy. That's a good one. There was no orange man when Biden was taken. Like and subscribe. Let's just leave it there before it just devolves into debauchery. This was a good one. I like this one. It's always entertaining. You reignite the spark into people, Jerry. You're a national treasure. So thank you for coming on.
I really appreciate your audience. Thank you for all of you that have followed me on Twitter, are interacting with me. I hope that I can engage some of you in my new company that I just created called Compute Portal. We're looking to bring physical devices to the decentralized physical infrastructure of all these incredible projects that we all love and care about. Good times are ahead, everyone.
Good time. Hey, real quick, can you talk about your new clients, the clients that you've landed, or that's under NDA?
Well,
you don't have to, but they're pretty big.
Yeah, we'll hold off on that.
Okay. Anyhow, everybody, that's it for today. So thanks so much for stopping by. We appreciate it. You like today's video, like and subscribe. Also check out Jerry on his X account. That's it. So thanks so much, everybody, and we'll see you on the next one. Adios.
Pura vida.